What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I want to address a little bit of what's going on with a potential stimulus package, because what we're seeing right now is Congress and lawmakers want to ultimately repurpose funds. That's their plan. Now, we're also going to talk about how President Biden is going to spend about $450 million to try to improve ports, which would hopefully help out our supply chain, get more people back to work, and hopefully everything will go back to normal. We also have some updates on the Supreme Court nominees as well, since some daily news on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine. So, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Let's get right into it, because over the past few days, I've received a bunch of comments from people asking why Congress doesn't want to provide additional stimulus to the American people. Why are they just cutting everybody off? Now, I want to be very clear with this. And I think a lot of people are struggling with this because what we're not seeing is that stimulus check. Now, do I think a stimulus check is needed for millions of Americans? Absolutely yes. But do other Americans need it? No. Because what we're seeing is some are doing extremely well, others are really struggling. Now, the United States has already and always provided stimulus to the American people that qualified for it. We've seen stimulus even before those stimulus checks. We've seen stimulus. This included things like SNAP benefits, affordable housing, there was health insurance or Medicaid, SSI, welfare, right? Even federal Pell Grants for school. These are all forms of stimulus that we've had in our economy for years. Now, here's where things are ultimately changing. Currently, due to the state of emergency, billions of dollars in additional funding have really been allocated to these different programs. For instance, SNAP benefits are seeing increased funding. But just recently, what we've been seeing is a major shift, because lawmakers are trying to, what they're trying to do is really transition out of this pandemic. But by transitioning out of the pandemic, they want to keep the funding the same and utilize these additional funds towards other programs. Now, here's the only issue. The issue is that these additional funds, these were passed under previous stimulus packages. Whether it's under the former Trump administration or the current Biden administration, doesn't matter. These were passed under stimulus packages, which means Congress okayed this additional spending. Now, lawmakers would need to determine the best way to pay for additional stimulus in the future. And that's what is creating a cause for concern, is there are some that say we don't need any additional stimulus, but at the same time, what is additional stimulus? Because here's the problem, and this is what a lot of people don't realize, is just look at SNAP benefits, right? We saw an increase of 15%, and then we actually saw it get pushed up permanently. But what we're seeing now is there is an emergency allotment that if people are close to the maximum amount, they get pushed all the way up to the maximum amount. But if they are right at the maximum amount of SNAP benefits, of that benefit amount, they actually get boosted up an additional $95 per month. So that's pretty big, right? But that is additional stimulus. And that's the key, is how much more could families survive off of? Because if we get rid of that, okay, the additional stimulus just goes away, health insurance gone, right? What happens? It creates a big issue. Now, I know that many people say there's no additional stimulus coming, but the truth is it's been here all along. The only thing that isn't coming is that fourth stimulus check. Now, could you get it from your state, your county, or your city? Yes, of course. But we're talking about more of a federal level. But keep this in mind, okay? Keep this in mind as Congress debates additional support for the American people, because right now it looks like Congress wants to repurpose funding that is not being used or allocated, and it wants to take this money and push it towards struggling parts of the country, which makes sense. Why would we continue to provide stimulus to parts of the country that don't need additional stimulus? when seniors, veterans, right, homeless, people that have been out of a job that have nothing, they could use some additional support. And that's what many economists believe is we need to provide for the hardest hit individuals at this time to prop them up. Because, and one saying I absolutely love to use for like a team analogy is you're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, I'm not saying low income earners are weak, but if they are struggling, we need to prop them up, support them, because that would support the rest of the economy. So we'll see what happens there. Now, even though Congress has quite a bit of stuff on their plate, we know that President Biden is still working to narrow down his pick of the Supreme Court seat, the nominees. He has met with 3 potential nominees. There's Ketanji Brown Jackson, there's Leandra Kruger, and Michelle Childs. Biden expects to have a decision by the end of this month. Remember, his State of the Union address is scheduled for March 1st. So he wants to have the Supreme Court nominee picked. Hopefully it will be passed, but we don't know, or approved, but we don't know. Remember, the Senate is still on recess, so once they come back, hopefully them, and we're still waiting for Senator Lujan to return as well. He went out due to a stroke over a month ago, so hopefully he's doing extremely well. So we'll see what happens there, but the expectation is President Biden wants to have his Supreme Court nominee chosen by the end of this month. So we'll see. But let's address something else that President Biden has been doing just recently, because as of this morning, he has actually set aside $450 million to unclog U.S. ports. This money will actually go to individual ports that operate as an independent business. Now, they will be able to apply for this money to pay for things like expanding their terminals, constructing new piers, and also just creating rail yards for moving goods. Now, here's what you need to keep in mind. The benefit behind this $450 million is going to be more long-term. In the short term, these ports could reportedly hire new workers to help them speed things along. That creates the other issue. Are there people there to hire? We don't know. But in the long term, the money would be great to help create more efficient processes and move products faster. So in the long term, it's a better benefit. In the short term, it will help a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. But again, for those that were thinking, oh, this is going to be great, we're going to get these, this $450 million is going to be input into the economy, things would be going really quick. Well, no. It takes a little bit. So we'll see what happens there, but as we get more information on that, I promise I'll fill you in on that news as well. But let's address the issues in Russia and Ukraine. Currently, more than 40 lawmakers have actually asked President Biden to seek congressional approval before sending troops to Ukraine. Some lawmakers include Representatives Paul Gosar, Matt Gaetz, AOC, and Cori Bush. Now, they write in this letter, and I quote, "Should your administration seek to introduce U.S. armed forces into hostilities or decline to remove any U.S. military personnel currently deployed inside Ukraine from unauthorized hostilities or imminent hostilities, Congress stands ready to deliberate over the potentially monumental implications of such scenarios." And they also add, "The American people, through their representatives in Congress, deserve to have a say before U.S. troops are placed in harm's way or the U.S. becomes involved in yet another foreign conflict." Now, what's interesting about this letter is this is bringing Republicans and progressives together asking for the exact same thing. And let me ask you this, because a report just the other day stated that 57% of Americans believe that we should not get involved with the issues in Russia and Ukraine. But let me ask you in your thoughts. Should President Biden seek congressional approval in deciding whether U.S. troops are deployed or not? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'm really interested in knowing what you guys think. And at this time, Ukraine has actually called up reservists and declared a state of emergency. They did that this morning. This morning, Ukraine also urged all of their citizens that are currently in Russia to get out ahead of a potential war. We also know that China is saying that Europe and the US are simply creating fear and panic, as there is nothing to be worried about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine. And I've said this multiple times before, but we here in the US should be worried, because if an invasion happens, gas prices are going to go up. And that's the real concern. But Russia is also the largest exporter of wheat, so products containing wheat will get much more expensive, or they will be impossible to find because manufacturing will come to a slow. We also know nickel, palladium, and titanium are all major exports of Russia as well. But experts worry that gas prices will be the biggest threat to us here in the US. And in other issues, okay, and this is just another one, Russia could actually retaliate for US sanctions by launching cyber attacks against critical infrastructure here in the US. So even though we may not see gas prices rise immediately, Russia could just launch a cyber attack, and that could hurt us in many ways, right? So just understand that, yes, the concern, even though it's across the world, even though it's far away, the problem is there's still issues that we will face here in the US. So one thing I can tell you is that I will continue to keep you updated on what's going on in Russia and Ukraine as well, just because I think this is extremely important. I think we should all have some knowledge on what's going on there. There's issues up in Canada as well. I will address some of those reports later on today or tomorrow as well. So if you guys have any questions on any of the stuff that's going on, or maybe you've heard of something and you're not sure, is this true or not, you don't have the time to do the research, let me know. Comment down in the comment section below. Let me know what you're hearing, and I will do the research and figure out if this is true or not. So again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.